Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for joining today for this webinar. So a couple of minutes past the hour now, so we're going to get started. My name's Andrew. I'm going to be running the webinar today, talking you through how to start a project on LifeQI. And I'm joined by my colleague, Drew, who's here to basically answer any questions that you might have. If you do have questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A section or into the chat. Drew will either answer them or we'll stop periodically and answer some of your questions as we go through the session today. So also, if you want to share anything about yourself in the chat, like where you're from, like what you're working on in QI at the moment, anything you think might be interesting to others in the audience, then please feel free to do that. We welcome sort of any dialogue between the participants. Okay, so as I said, the plan today is to walk you through a Getting Started in LifeQI webinar. So this is really an introduction to the system and understanding how to start your first quality improvement project in LifeQI. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes before we go into the system itself and show you some useful information on our website where you can get started with your work. So we're here on our website, as you can see here. So this is our homepage. You can find it at www.lifeqisystem.com. If you come in here, if you already have an account, you can come here to log in to the system. So you can see that option here, or up in the top right over here. Also, if you're new to LifeQI and you've been told, maybe you need to come and use the system for your improvement projects, your improvement work, you can come and sign up to the system here. So click on this one, that'll guide you through the sign up process for LifeQI. Also, if you're doing that, you might be interested in some of the other information on the site. So about generally, what LifeQI is, some of the features, so you can read about those, the uses of the system and such like. Another really useful part of the website is the resources area. So I recommend you sort of come in here. There's a few different sections which you'll find useful. So the first one is blog, loads of different articles in there about how people are using LifeQI, about basics of QI tools, and things that will help you get underway with your project, things to think about. So come and browse the blog, see some of those articles. We also have our webinars page. So obviously you found your way to the webinar today, which is great. If you're interested in future webinars, you'll find those advertised on our webinar page. So you can go in there, see what other webinars are coming up. So we tend to have similar sessions to this relatively regularly, but then also more focused sessions on different parts of the system that you can come and learn about in a little bit more detail. Sign up to those webinars, attend in person, or get the recordings afterwards as well. We then have our help center, so we'll go into this in a minute, but this is really all the detailed information about how to do things in LifeQI and where you can get some of this training on demand as well. And then just before we get into that, just point out over here some of the Improvement Hub resources that are available. So this is, if you're interested in specifics of some of the different tools and how they're applied and why they're useful, come into the Improvement Hub and you'll find information about all of those that you can access, and really, really useful resource just to refer back to as part of your work as well. Okay, so I'm just going to go into the Help Center actually very quickly, show you what that looks like. So we're in the Help Center here. You can see all these different categories of different articles and videos and things that you can access on demand. You can search the list here. So you can come and search in here, or if you're in the LifeQI application and you're working away, you can also use the chat box over here. So you can come and search the articles through here. And also, if you can't find the relevant information, this is where you can come to talk to one of our support team who can help you with whatever you need to do in the system. Okay, so today we're really going to be working through one of the training guides. So just point out where these are in the system. So we've got a training guide here, Getting Started for Users. Essentially the session today, we're going to be working through some of this training information, but if you want to refer back to this, obviously you will get the video of this webinar, but also if you want to refer back to it in more sort of bite-sized chunks, you can do this through the Getting Started for Users training program, and that is sort of laid out on the page here. So you can scroll through here, watch the little videos. These are sort of 3-minute videos, most of these, that you can watch and get to grips with how to do those different elements of your project that you'll be looking to do on LifeQI. So with that, let's move into the system and talk about how you go about using LifeQI in your improvement work. So you can see we're logged into the system here. This is me. This is my start page. So you can see we're on my start page on the menu on the left. Then the menu here lists out all the different parts of LifeQI, and we're going to really focus today on the projects area and on just sort of getting started with a quality improvement project in LifeQI. So the start page itself, this is really a navigation page. It helps me get to where I need to go in the system. So when you come in for the first time, there won't be too much on here because you probably won't have started any projects unless you've been invited to a project by a colleague. Then you will see that in the list of projects down here. But as you start to be a bit more active in the system, you will see projects appearing. You will obviously have access to different groups that you may be part of, or programs of work, discussions that you're involved with, and such like. So you can sort of access all that on the page. Just means when you come in each time, you don't have to go search in the main menu to get where you need to be. You can just come straight in from your start page and access the relevant information for you. Okay, so now we're going to move into the projects area and talk about this part of the system. So this is really the heart of LifeQI, where most people using the system, they spend the majority of their time in here. This is where you can come to search the list of improvement projects. So you can see I've got a list here, which initially is filtered to my active projects. Again, when you come in for the first time, you might have an empty list initially because you won't have any projects ongoing. But you can change these filters. So you could turn off your projects and look at active projects in your organization. You'd see a list of those here. You can use the text search to search that list. So come and type in relevant text and it'll search the titles, aim statements, keywords, and such like. You can also use other filters that you can find here to filter down this list. This is also where you'll find improvement projects if they've been shared by other organizations. So often successful projects elements of that might be shared. So you can access those through this interface as well. Okay, so now we're going to have a look, rather than go into a project that's already populated, we're going to have a look at starting a new project in LifeQI. Really simple to do that. You've got the Start a New Project button on the top right. So come and click on that one. And this is going to run us through a project setup wizard. Don't worry about this first step in that. You won't get that one. So you'll basically have a 5-step process to set up your project. And it's essentially establishing the project charter. And so the fields that you see in here, sort of the typical things you would be thinking about when you're chartering an improvement project. And it's just sort of encouraging you to populate those. Anything you see in red is mandatory, so you have to have an entry in the red fields. Anything in grey, you don't have to, it's optional, but obviously encouraged. With the any of these fields, you can get help using the tooltips on the right above the fields, and this will sort of give you a bit of guidance about what you expect to see in these fields. So I'm going to start my project today. We're going to do a project on learning how to use LifeQI, hopefully what we're all here for. And what's the problem? So problem is that you want to run a QI project, but you don't know how to use LifeQI, so that's the problem we're facing. Think about your aim statement. So as I said earlier, guidance given in the tooltips, things to think about when writing an aim statement. Some examples to consider that you can access just here. And so we're going to write a brief aim statement, pop that in there. So learn how to start a project in LifeQI in 30 minutes. And then, yeah, things like the rationale. Like I said, you can populate these, it's optional. You can always come back and edit these fields afterwards as well. So it's not like anything you do here can't be changed. Yeah, so enter that information, and then this next part of the project is all about the project membership. So this is the people who will be involved in the project, colleagues that you might be working with and such like. You'll see as a default, you'll be the project leader because you've started the project. And you'll also see your organization listed as part of the project because you're obviously affiliated to your organization. If you want to invite other people to come and take part in your project, you can do that here. So invite new members. You can search the list, find the relevant people. So I'm going to invite Jason here. You can set their role on the project. So Jason's going to be a member of our project. Or let's make Jason the sponsor. You can set their rights of access. So view rights, obviously just being able to view the information, edit rights if you want them to be able to edit the information, to be able to add data and such like. And then admin rights gives them those admin privileges on the project as well. If you sort of need to understand what each of those is, click on the tooltips and it'll tell you. So once you've set that up, let's add Jason. So now it's ready to invite Jason. So as soon as we start this project, then Jason will get an invite to come and join the project with me. Also worth mentioning, if you can't find somebody in the list or they're not registered on LifeQI yet, you can come and find someone here. So you can enter their email address and it will basically send them an invite to come and join LifeQI and register and to join your project as well. So that's how you invite people who aren't yet on the system. Okay, so this is also where you can change the privacy of your project. So we've got privacy only members can view. What that means is that anyone in this list will be able to view this project. I mentioned earlier about some projects being made accessible to other organizations and such like. So if you wanted to do that, then you'd need to make it everyone can view. But as a default, only members can view. Yeah, probably leave it like that. Like I said, you can always change all these things later and open up that access if you want to. Okay, moving on to the next part. Now we've got the project membership sorted. This section is all about categorizing your project. So if your organization has some priorities established, you can link your project to these here. So we've got a number of different priorities listed here. This project's gonna be about improving staff experience. I'll link that one. You could link multiple if you like, but that sort of adds that to the list here. You can also add tags. So these are more of an informal way of categorizing projects. So you can come and search different tags, search the list, browse the list, add your tags. If you can't find a tag, you can make new ones as well. We're going to add a tag of joy at work. And then next up, give your project start date and an end date, and give it a location if you want to, and then create that project by clicking on the blue button. So that's the basic kind of setup process for the project, and that's going to spin up a project in the system, add it to your project list, and then you can actually start working on your project with your colleagues who you've invited as well. Okay, so here's our project. So it started the project in the system. You can see just on this first page, we've got different tabs here. These are some of the different bits of the project that we're going to go and have a look at now. We've also got this summary pane below of the glance panel below of all the different information about the project. You can see we don't have things like drive diagram or measures or PDFAs yet, but we're going to go through and populate some of these now. The number that you see on the left-hand side, this is the project progress score. This is a really, really useful score for understanding and sort of monitoring progress of quality improvement projects. So every project that you start will start up here at 0.5, and this is really where we are now. As you go through this process, you can start to move up through this 10-point score, and you can see each of these has useful little definitions. Once you get up to sort of level 3 and above, really, that's actually when you're starting to demonstrate real improvement as part of your initiative. So really useful to sort of help quantify that and analyze that. So encourage you to use that. It's the IHI's project progress score that sort of bakes into the system that's being followed here. So then the project team, so just go back to that. We already looked at this in the setup process, but if you want to come and invite people subsequently as part of your project, then you can come and do that again here, invite those people into the workspace here. And then before we go and look through some of the different elements of the project, just point out all that information we entered at the start. That's what you're seeing here below. So this is really your project charter. Like I said, if you do want to come back and edit some of these fields, absolutely you can do that. Just come into edit, come and change those fields in here. Just make sure you hit save afterwards, and that will commit those changes into the project. Okay, so with that, let's move on to the driver diagram. So this driver diagram is a really useful tool for establishing a kind of logic model really for your project and what's going to drive progress towards your aim. So you can see our aim is already populated in our driver diagram, so we already dealt with that. And now this tool just allows you to build driver diagrams really, really simply. So we're going to build a basic one here. So what's going to help us? We're going to have training and some practical experience. So that's what's going to help drive us. And then maybe as part of the training, there's going to be some webinars going to help drive that, and the LifeQI Help Center, which I showed you earlier. So you can build these out. You can see you can create different linkages. Obviously, you can create as many as you like. You can also start to list out your change ideas. So let's say with webinars, attend LifeQI getting started. So really simple to do that. You can also manage your colors. So choose some different colors, help you distinguish different things on here. You can set up a key for these. So things that are underway, for example, or you might want things that you're planning. So different phases or whatever you want to segregate those by. It might be short term versus long term or something like that. Set those up, and then you can choose your colors. So we started some of the training, planning that one. Yeah, underway. So yeah, just customize that. You can obviously move these around and change colors of text and all that type of thing if you want to as well. So really simple tool to use to create these diagrams. Save that, and then that's shared with everybody else on the project, so all your colleagues will be able to access that same version of the driver diagram. As we start to go through the different elements of the project, some of these will be linked into the driver diagram. So things like change ideas, when you start to run plan, do, study, act cycles and actually test some of these changes, you'll see linkage with that below. And also some of the drivers, when you start to measure things related to those, you'll see those linked onto the driver diagram. So it can be a really useful sort of central hub for some of that, accessing some of that information. Just also worth pointing out as we go through this, if you do want to export any information, so if you wanted an image of the driver diagram, you can come and do that, export that here. So export your driver diagram as an image. You can also run reports, which we won't really get onto today, but there are other webinars on running reports and different types of reports that you could use. Okay, so next up, we're going to talk a little bit about charts and measurement. So I'm going to set up actually, before we do that, Drew, have we got any questions or anything that would be worth addressing?
No questions have come up.
Okay, I'll proceed then. So yeah, we're going to talk about charts and measures. This is obviously a really important part of the system, so you probably want to measure something as part of your improvement projects. When you come to do that, you're going to need to come and set up a new measure in your project. Click on here, and just like we had before, sort of guides you through a little process for that. So give your measure a title, just, pop something in here for now. Decide what type of measure it is. So whether it's an outcome measure, process measure, balance measure, you need a bit of guidance on what each of these are. Click the tooltips and some helpful information here. So we're going to make this a process measure. This is then your opportunity to define your measure, make sure it's clear exactly what you're measuring within here. And as we go through here, then also to define how you're going to collect the data. This is particularly important if there's going to be more than one person involved in collecting data, then just making it clear how that's done so that people are following the same process, getting data from the same places and such like. Then a couple of really important fields in here are the type of chart. So choose the type of chart that you want to use. If you need a bit of help with that, you can look at the different types of chart available in the system here. The first one and the default is a run chart. It's probably the most common, definitely the most common chart in improvement work. So that'll be the default on the system. But if you're interested in other types of SPC chart, you can see these here. Really simple descriptions of those, examples of when you might use them, and the data that you would need to capture to use that type of chart. So you can see some of these have just 2 fields of data. Some of them have more. P chart where you're looking at percentages has 3 fields and such like. So important to think about that early on. It's obviously going to affect what data you need to record, or maybe you're extracting that data from somewhere else. So really impacts that as well. So we're going to stick with a run chart for this example. You can then define your data collection frequency. So if it's something you're monitoring on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, this is your opportunity to define that here. So I'll do a daily one within here. But if it's something that is unknown or sort of irregular things, then you could set those as well. So set those up. This way you can link it back to your driver diagram. So if you want to link it to one of your secondary drivers, do that here. Come and link that, add that to the measure, and then create the measure using the blue button at the bottom. So that's the first part of the process and really the sort of bulk of the setup done. The next part is to actually add a chart to that measure. So you can give your chart a different name because you can have multiple charts for a measure. So give that an intuitive name. This is where you then can come and add your initial bit of data as well. So obviously you can add data at any time, but if you want to sort of start with some baseline data, you can do that here. You can come and add rows of data as you have them, or you can come and, if you've got data already collated, so I've got some here in this spreadsheet, I'm just going to come and copy a whole bunch of data out of here and pop that into LifeQI. Oh, what's going on there? Sorry, use the monthly data where on a daily measure, which isn't a good idea. So there you go. There's our data added to the chart, and then create that. And then you'll see your chart appear in the system. So click on that one. I'll bring up the chart in a bit more detail. You've got that data that we've added below. When it comes to adding more data to that, just come into edit, add a new row of data, and add that to here. Redraw that, and it adds that data point to the chart. Make sure you save that afterwards. So yes, plotting our run chart. It's also looking at any special cause variations. So it's identifying a shift in our data set here. It's identifying a trend. Things you want to do in here, things like move from baseline phases into test phases. You do that in edit mode. I won't go into too much detail today, but if you want to go into a test phase here, you can do that. That will change the headers at the chart here. And that's also where you would go to link in different PDSAs when they've been run, and also to annotate your chart. So if you wanted to annotation to this chart, you can do that here. Sorry, didn't actually add. Yeah, or link in any PDSAs that have been run. We don't have any PDSAs as part of this project yet, so that we're not seeing those. But yeah, that's the basics to adding a chart to your measure and to your project. When you're in your measure, you'll see all the data and charts on this first tab. The next tab along the plan tab will have all that information you might have populated at the start around the definition, data collection plan, and such like. Again, come and edit those if you need to. Okay, so also worth just reminding you, if you do need any help with any of these elements, come into the help center. There's always this blue link at the top. So come and click on that. That'll take you straight to all the measures and charting articles. So you get all the help you need there, hopefully. Or you can talk to one of our support team as well, who'll be able to help you. So then next tab on the top is the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycles. So this is PDSAs, so you can start PDSAs here and sort of guide you through that process. So why don't we start one here and I'll sort of show you how that works. So as part of this PDSA, we're going to attend LifeQI webinar. So give it a name, sort of something that you're aiming to achieve. You can link it to a change idea. So that was our change idea we added on the driver diagram. Who's going to do it and when? Where's it happening? We'll populate those. And then any notes you want to make as part of that. This is also your opportunity to build out task lists. So if you had a series of tasks that needed completing, so you need to register for the webinar, give that date, give that a person who needs to do that. So list out those tasks and ensures that those get completed and ticked off. Add a prediction of what you think is going to happen, and maybe something that you're using to monitor that in terms of something you're measuring as part of your project. So if you've got a measure already set up that you're going to use for that, you can link those here and then create that in the system, and it will take you straight into the PDSA page where you'll see that information you've populated, any measures, and also when it comes to the next phases, so the do, study, act phases, this is where you come then to enter information around those and record all the information about from that PDSA cycle. Okay, then as part of your project, you might also have discussions. So if you want to start discussions with the other people involved in your project, with your colleagues, you can do that in this space. Come and start a new discussion, initiate that within here about any different element of the project. Also worth pointing out on the right-hand side, some really useful pieces. So we looked at the members panel, which is this one here. This one below it is the project timeline. So this is recording any activity in the project. So if you're working with some colleagues on a project and you're coming in for the first time in a little while and you want to see what's been going on, you can click on here and you can see who's been active in the project and what they've been doing. You can also add manual updates into this if there's something you wanted to alert people to. So you can add those using the blue button at the top here. So that's really useful, particularly if you're working with a number of different people and just on keeping track of project activity. We've also got the file space. So if you're looking to share files, or you've got other related files to this project, you come and store those here. You can upload the files within here. You can make add folders to sort of organize that as well, and just means that everyone has a central hub for that information and that they can access that whenever they need it as part of the project. And then the final piece down here is project announcements. So again, if you've got a team of people involved and you want to announce something to them, you can do a quick announcement within here, notify the project team, alerts them by email, and gets the message out there. Okay, so that sort of hopefully guided you through how to start a new project within LifeQI. I just wanted to show you in the next few minutes a project with a bit more information in it, just sort of show you what it looks like once you've actually built out that in a bit more detail. So this is a project we've got here on reducing pressure sores. You can see it's a bit more complete in terms of the contents of the project. So it's a much more advanced project. You can see that from the progress score. There's quite a few people involved with this project. You can see that summarized here. Got this big nice driver diagram, number of different measures and charts and PDSAs that are being run as part of this. So this is where, particularly when you're measuring lots of different things, or you've got different changes that you've run over time, this is where it's really valuable to have this centralized and being able to record all of this in one space. For example, being able to go to your measures and see all your different things that you're measuring, the charts for those, being able to click on those and see all the details of that is obviously a really valuable piece of having access to the system. Okay, so with that, I'm going to take another pause and go back to Drew and see if we've got any questions from anyone on the call.
No questions have come in. None.
Okay, that's nice and easy. So I think, yeah, that's more or less covered everything that I wanted to cover as part of the session today. Hopefully that's given you a bit of a insight into how you can, overview of how you can start projects in LifeQI and start to log your QI work in here. As I've said a couple of times, if you do need any help, a help center is a really valuable resource. Come in here. If you're starting a new project, I just sort of guided through that process, but there's a quick sort of 3-minute video that you can come and watch here on demand. So access those resources as you need them and come and get that help that you need, so you never be left on your own. There's always help at hand to get you to where you need to be. Okay, and with that, I think if there's no further questions, Drew, I think we'll pile off a few minutes early and give everyone a few minutes back.
Brilliant. Yeah, no more questions. Or no questions, I should say.
Okay.
Cool.
Lovely. All right. Thanks everyone for joining. And please, if you're interested in future webinars, go to our webinars, the webinars part of our website, sign up for those. Like I said, there's some similar ones to this, but also lots of more detailed ones on different elements of the system, like reporting, like measurement and charts and such like, that we didn't get to go into in a huge amount of detail today. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.